The air was thick with the scent of sweat and leather. Armor clanked softly in the morning mist. Horses neighed, swords were checked, and men stood silently, ready for battle. But before the first arrow flew or blade clashed, there was something far older fueling these warriors. Not just bravery, not just training, but food, real food. Quietly powerful, earth-grown, and passed from hand to hand through centuries. These were the superfoods of the medieval world, simple, sacred, and strong. In a time when battle was raw and survival was uncertain, what you ate mattered. Every bite could mean the difference between fatigue and ferocity. And while the medieval diet may seem bland to modern tastes, certain foods carried hidden strength packed with energy, healing, and endurance. Tonight, as you close your eyes and drift into stories of ancient times, walk with these warriors, feel what they felt, taste what they tasted, and discover the quiet power behind their strength. The first food on our journey is barley. Humble, golden, and hearty. This grain was the foundation of the medieval diet. Soldiers boiled it into thick porridge, sometimes with herbs or bits of dried meat. It filled their bellies and gave lasting energy. Unlike refined grains, barley was slow to digest, meaning it provided fuel for long marches and brutal battles. Rich in fiber and packed with minerals, barley was more than food, it was endurance in a bowl. Next comes garlic. Known even then as nature's armor, garlic was crushed into pastes, added to broth, and sometimes chewed raw before battle. Warriors believed it kept illness away and gave strength to the blood. It warmed the body in winter and was even thought to ward off evil spirits. Whether myth or medicine, garlic carried heat, both in taste and belief. Third on our list is honey, the sweet gold of the medieval world. Kept in clay jars or soaked into bread, honey was not just a treat, it was a healer. Its natural sugars gave instant energy, while its antibacterial powers helped treat wounds. A knight might smear honey on a sword wound or sip it in warm water to soothe a cough. It was one of the few things in the world that tasted sweet and saved lives at the same time. Then there was oats. Like barley, oats were boiled into gruel and eaten before dawn. Oats were thick, chewy, and nourishing. They gave warmth on cold mornings and strength during long watches on castle walls. Easy to store and quick to cook, oats traveled with soldiers across kingdoms. Their power was in their simplicity, a slow-burning fuel that made the body steady and strong. Fifth, we turn to cabbage. Yes, cabbage. Shredded into soups or roasted over open fires, it was a trusted ally to any warrior's gut. Rich in vitamins and surprisingly strong against infection, cabbage helped heal the inside when the outside was wounded. Some even used boiled cabbage leaves as wraps for sore joints or wounds, believing its cooling touch could ease pain. Our sixth food was the prized salted fish. Packed in barrels, salted by hand, and carried across seas, this preserved protein kept soldiers alive far from home. Cod, herring, and eels were favorites, though dry and often tough. These fish delivered essential fats and protein when no fresh meat could be found. Salt made them last for months, and when soaked and boiled, they gave life back to tired men. Seventh was the simple yet powerful onion. Not just for flavor, but for health. Onions were eaten raw, boiled, and roasted. Warriors believed onions could cleanse the blood, ease pain, and give clear breath. In a time when medicine was rare and disease was feared, onions were both food and remedy. Then came cheese-aged, soft, hard, or crumbly. Cheese was carried into battle wrapped in cloth or sealed in wax. It was dense, filling, and full of fat and calcium. It didn't spoil quickly, and paired with bread or dried fruit, it gave soldiers something to look forward to. A bite of cheese before battle was comfort in chaos, a reminder of home. The ninth superfood may surprise you: apples. Not the glossy, perfect ones we see today, but small, tart, and powerful. Apples were eaten fresh in fall or dried and stored for winter. They provided natural sugars, hydration, and a hint of freshness in a diet often heavy with meat and grain. Some were turned into vinegar used to clean wounds or mixed into tonics. 10th is the mighty lentil. Small, earthy, and easy to cook, lentils were a plant-based powerhouse. They boiled quickly, absorbed flavor, and could be stored dry for months. Rich in iron and protein, lentils were the medieval version of strength in a spoon. Soldiers who had no meat would rely on lentils for stamina and survival. And then, at number 11, we have nuts, hazelnuts, walnuts, and chestnuts. These were foraged, traded, and treasured. Rich in healthy fats and calories, a small pouch of nuts could keep a soldier moving for hours. Chestnuts, in particular, were roasted and mashed into pastes for bread or stew. In harsh winters, when nothing green could grow, nuts were nature's gift of survival. Number 12 on our list is the rich, sticky dried fig. Imported from warmer lands or dried in the sun, figs were sweet, chewy, and packed with energy. Their natural sugars and fiber made them a favorite among traveling armies. Figs were also used in religious offerings, believed to be sacred in some circle sweetness blessed by the divine. As night deepens and your breath slows, imagine a fire in the woods. Imagine a group of soldiers sitting quietly, sharing a meal of bread, cheese, figs, and barley stew. They don't speak much. They don't know what tomorrow will bring, but for now, they eat. They gather strength not from feasts, but from these small, powerful foods, each bite carrying centuries of survival. In the quiet between battles, food was more than nutrition. It was ritual. It was hope. It was the thread that kept men moving forward. And though they didn't know the science behind it, their bodies remembered what worked. These foods, humble and forgotten by many today, once powered some of the fiercest fighters history has ever known. As you drift deeper into rest, think of the strength packed into simplicity. Think of warriors who slept on cold ground but rose with fire in their veins, thanks to what they carried in their satchels, in their bowls, and in their bones. The fire crackles low, casting shadows on armor and old boots. A soldier stares into the flames, not thinking of glory or enemies, but of warmth, hunger, and tomorrow's strength. In the medieval world, survival came not just from courage, but from what you fed your body and soul. As we continue our journey through the foods that made warriors fierce, we discover the final treasures that sustain men through storms, marshes, and battles. Number 13 on our ancient list is the mighty leg of lamb, not just a feast food, but a deep source of strength. While rare among common soldiers, lamb was prized for its richness. It was slow roasted or boiled in stew, its fat feeding the body during times of intense effort. For noble knights or those lucky enough to hunt, lamb was a celebration of strength. It built muscle, warmed the blood, and carried sacred meaning during feasts before war. Next is number 14, blackberries and elderberries. Found along forest paths and hedgerows, these berries weren't just sweet, they were medicine. Rich in antioxidants long before anyone knew that word, berries were crushed into drinks or dried for winter use. They were believed to purify the blood, cool fevers, and keep the spirit clear. Soldiers would chew them during march or mix them into warm wine at camp. Their deep purple color stained fingers, lips, and memories. And finally, we reach number 15, perhaps the most symbolic food of all, dark rye bread. Baked in communal ovens, carried in leather pouches, and broken between hands before battle. This dense, sour bread wasn't just food, it was ritual. It was the last thing many tasted before battle, the first thing eaten after returning alive. Packed with fiber, minerals, and warmth, rye bread was a lifeline. Soldiers dipped it in broth, paired it with cheese, or chewed it dry on the edge of a battlefield. With this, Our list of 15 powerful superfoods is complete, but these weren't just ingredients. They were memory. They were strength disguised in simplicity. Now imagine once more the life of a medieval soldier, the clang of metal, the chill of early morning fog, the long silence before a charge. What did he carry? Not just a sword and shield, but pouches of oats, dried fish, a small piece of cheese wrapped in cloth, a few nuts from home, a crust of bread touched by a mother's hand. These were his treasures, his strength. Before battle, warriors would often gather around food not only for energy but for unity. To eat together was sacred. It reminded them of who they were fighting beside and who they were fighting for. It was a moment of peace before chaos, a moment to breathe before holding breath. In some places, soldiers would smear garlic on their swords or drink honey water to sharpen focus. Others carried charms made of cabbage leaves or small pouches of dried herbs. These weren't just meals. They were beliefs made edible. And even in the worst of conditions, in mud, in snow, in the pouring rain, soldiers would find ways to heat broth or chew on dried fruit. Because food didn't just feed the body. It reminded them they were alive, that they had purpose. Think now of the quiet campfires in hidden valleys, of the lone knight riding at dusk with a satchel of barley cakes, of the wounded soldier handed a fig soaked in wine. These were the unseen moments of history, soft, slow, real. They gave strength not just to fight, but to feel. And when battles were done, when the shields cracked, the banners fell, and the world grew silent, it was food that remained. The same barley porridge, the same dark bread, the same roasted nuts. These meals weren't just survival, they were memory, echoes, rituals passed down not through books, but through flavor. Today, we might not taste these foods the same way, but their essence lives on in every bowl of oats, in every slice of rye, in every spoonful of honey on a sore throat. These foods are whispers from the past, reminders that even the fiercest warriors were human, and that their strength came not from what they wore, but what they carried within. As you rest now, let your body settle like armor placed gently aside. Let your thoughts become the quiet wind that moved through ancient forests. Let your breath mirror the slow simmer of stew in a copper pot. You are safe. You are warm. And the stories of strength, the real kind, born from barley and berries, will keep you company. Close your eyes. Let the fire die down in your mind. Let the battle fade. Let the bread be broken. Let sleep come softly, like a wool blanket over tired shoulders.